Okay, Mike, great to meet you, sir. Thank you for taking a minute out for the show today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Great to be here.
So before we get into your good work, I want to know this. I always start with this question. And 6 years ago, this pandemic was a real fork in the road for all of us. It changed so many things.
Huge shift for me. I had written a book in 2019. I was actually in a corporate role and I didn't plan on leaving the corporate role. I had a plan, I had a fitness plan, we had a life plan, all those things. And 2020 pulls around. We're in a great spot. I'm coaching on the side. The book is increasing demand. People are actually reaching out to me from this book. It's called Speak with No Fear. I had one guy call me up. He's like, "Hey, is this Mike?" And I said, "Yeah, this is Mike." And he said, "This is Mike Acker." I said, "Yeah, this is Mike Acker." He said, "Is this the Mike Acker?" Yeah, I guess there's hundreds of us. And he goes, "I just read your book and it changed my life. Can I fly out to meet with you?"
Wow.
So that's what's happening around this time where there's a slow demand coming up from my book that's released. COVID hits, my job gets grounded because we can't go out and see our clients. I was in corporate sales. And so now there's only so many times that you can email and call someone before they're like, "Hey, stop talking." So what COVID did for me is it continued to pay me through the job that I had, but my job hours went down and down and down as I couldn't do too much for about 6 months. So what I did is I used that time to lean more into coaching, create systems around the coaching. Now, when COVID got to a spot where it's like, all right, well, I guess we're going to live with this and you can go back out on the road. That was about that summer. So it's still happening, still going on, mask, all that kinds of stuff. But now I'm back in the job. But now my coaching has increased because I've been building it. And my wife said, "What if we move? I've always wanted to live near my family. What if we move in near the family with the kids? And why don't you lean into coaching full time?" So COVID was this creation moment where it caused me to launch out and it gave me opportunity to do what I now do full time.
So let's talk about what you're doing full time now. I'm going to put you in front of 13-year-old kids at career day. And one of the kids wants to know what you do for a living. How do you synthesize your work to make sense to them?
Yeah, I might say something like this. Have you ever realized that the more the more energetic that you are because you are running around, you're playing sports and you're doing stuff that allows you to do others that maybe your parents can't keep up with you. And your energy levels is a multiplier. It allows you to do things that others can't do. Public speaking and the ability to talk is a multiplier just like that. Just like your energy and you're able to go, 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 go allows you to do things that your parents can't. Your speaking and your ability to speak allows you to do things that others can't. Let's switch up the analogy. Imagine that you have keys that others don't. Your keys unlock all the different rooms in this school, but others don't have that. Because you have keys, you can go places others can't go. I help people find the key of speaking so that they can go places in their career and in their life that others can't go. When you improve your public speaking and when you improve your ability to talk out loud in front of people, all of a sudden it's a door opener. It's the energy that goes all through life. And it's something that you can develop. And I help people do that.
Isn't it amazing of all of the skills that you can bring in to any kind of environment? It really is about the way that you communicate, the way that you convey your message, your whole thing. Because, 80% of your communication is nonverbal, 20, 15, 20%. I mean, but that, if you can get that down, you can pretty much do
Huge.
anything.
Huge. Recently, I was just flipping through social media and I saw a musician. And she said, "I don't want to talk about my music. I just want to do my music." And I just thought, oh, what a miss. What a
Yeah,
miss. You will never go to the routes because think about people like Bono or Taylor Swift. Absolutely, they can perform. Absolutely, they can do things. But if you look at some of the people that really stood out, it wasn't just their ability to perform, it was their ability to talk about it. It was the ability to go on to an interview and capture audiences. What was one of the big breakout moments for the Beatles? When they went on the Ed Sullivan Show.
absolutely.
And all of a sudden you saw them and you heard them and you interact with them in that presence. I always tell people that there's two pillars of success no matter what you're in. There's your execution, which is based on your education, your experience, and your work ethic. So if you're a roofer, do you know, are you educated, are you trained in roofing? Do you have experience doing it? Have you been doing it for more than a week? And do you work hard at it? Okay, that's what matters. or we think that's what matters. But it's also the ability to get out there and speak. Why are some of the best roofers unknown? Because they don't get out there, or they don't have a good way of communicating what they do. If you take two people that look exactly the same, identical twins separated at birth, both went into roofing, and one learns how to speak and one doesn't, and they both pitch the exact same price for your roof, which one are you going to go with? The one that speaks better.
Yeah. So what did you want to be when you were a kid? When you were 13 years old, you were at career day. What was your dream gig?
Archaeologist.
Okay. Okay. So talk to me a little bit about your childhood. Where were you born and raised?
Yeah, I just like dinosaurs, and I didn't know. I was like, I want
Yeah,
to dig dinosaurs. That's cool, and Indiana Jones is cool, and I want to do that. I want to dig dinosaurs. And my
totally.
dad said, "There's no money in it. It's really hard to get into that." So I switched pretty easy. Yeah, but going back to the career, I mean, my childhood story is kind of funny, Joe. My dad was a drug dealer. My mom was a witch. And then they left that and left illegal drug selling for legal drug selling. They started a coffee company. So my dad was an entrepreneur, started a coffee company. It's doing quite well, right around 1980 there. So same time as Starbucks launching off, my dad's launching one in that general area. And we were in some of the major stores like Safeway and such. And then my parents become Christians, and we're not talking like just like vote a certain way type Christians. Like, let's do this, let's love other people. And I got to see my parents just do some incredible acts of love growing up. So that decision that they made changed my future, and as a result of that, we ended up going onto the mission field when I was 10. So I moved down to Mexico and grew up there. Now, growing up, I saw my parents present, speak, sell their coffee, and I had a speech impediment. I had a hard time even being understood, and I hated it. I didn't want to be misunderstood. So apparently, I was the one who instigated saying, I got to fix this. And I went to speech therapy lessons. I was instilled in this desire to get out and be heard and understood. Ended up performing poetry and all that kind of stuff. Pretty fun. Fast forward, moved down to Mexico. My good speaking is not so good anymore because now it's in Spanish, and I didn't know Spanish. So I'm being made fun of, and it just huge crisis of identity, psychosomatic sickness, all kinds of horrible errors. Finally mastered that. Became more Mexican than I was American. Love Mexico. Suddenly, we're back in the United States for college, and I'm back in this learning ground. So one of the things in my own communication journey along the way was overcoming some major things, overcome not being understood and being kind of the odd one out, overcoming this intense fear of being made fun of, overcoming some horrible mistakes in front of people, and coming back to the United States. I'd switched over from archaeology over software engineer, and then for a couple different reasons there, I was just like, what am I going? A law, a software engineer, and I took a public speaking class in college. And the public speaking professor said, Mike, you should be on our debate team. Would you be entertain that? I'll train you how to do this. And so I went into it, and I learned how to speak. I won contests. I learned how to debate, went to nationals, and it changed my life. So from then on, I kept on investing in speaking, and I ditched my software engineer, dropped out of law school, even though I had been enrolled, and just embarked on a whole career of speaking that persists to today.
It's interesting. The best advice, the best things that I've ever heard about entrepreneurs is that you're solving a problem. And it seems like in your life with what you've lived through, you solved a problem. And you're giving that to your clients now.
Yeah, I got to see my parents do it both in the ministry setting and in the coffee setting, which they ended up selling. And then later on, my dad started a law practice when he was 65 or something. And so I've got to see my parents do it. So I do it too. And the major thing is there's a lot of people that they either are afraid of speaking or they don't know how to speak, and therefore they don't speak. So they don't put themselves out there. They don't get that interview. They don't get that upgrade, and it just keeps on keeping them down. And so I want them to upgrade their public speaking so it doesn't become a hindrance, but it becomes a multiplier to their success.
So who's been that inspirational force in your life that's allowed you to navigate, overcome challenges, and become successful? Who has that been for you?
Definitely watching my dad do it. I mean, my dad had to re look at his entire life when my mom died and he moved back from, he'd stayed in Mexico for a while. moved back and he's looking at his life, and his wife of 25 years is gone. His kids are out of the house. Who is he now? He had a law degree but hadn't practiced law in the United States for a long time. What is he going to do? And for him to start up a successful law practice at the age of 60 or so, I mean, and now he's 76 and he still practices part-time.
Wow.
It's pretty darn amazing for me to watch what he does.
So if you could meet an entrepreneur, somebody that's overcome, that's successful or inspirational on the planet right now, you can meet one person, have a lunch, someone that might help you on your journey. Who would you love to meet and talk to?
Yeah, if I were to jump several steps ahead of it,
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff Bezos would just be fun just to hear and understand. I just think the guy thinks a certain way and was so positive throughout it. He's also from Bellevue. I used to live not too far away from him when he was starting Amazon right there. So that's several steps ahead of what I'm looking at. I think there's a couple other people. I mean, Donald Miller with StoryBrand. I read his memoirs when he was in his 20s writing, and his first book, Blue Like Jazz, which nowadays doesn't get much press, but at the time it was like really interesting. And now I just love what he's doing with StoryBrand, and I follow him and just sit down and just hear a little bit of his journey. In some ways, I believe that what he's doing right now, if I understand the story correct, was a little bit of an accidental journey. So he had written memoirs, and then he was like, what else can I write about here? I've written all my memoirs. And then he wrote a book on marriage, and it didn't get quite the traction that some of his other books does. And then he wrote StoryBrand on marketing. And I don't think he envisioned quite what StoryBrand would become. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more of that story and what he did with that book and how he turned it into what he did.
So even as a coach right now, what coaches did you hear growing up, or what coaches exist out there that you look up to that maybe you emulate, whether it's conscious or subconscious?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the mastermind with Jason Wojo, and I think he's very interesting. He's 29 years old, and he just started super young, and he's got a very interesting story of the zero to hero type thing, and he's done really well in that space. And it's quite amazing that for as successful and busy as he is, how personable he is. Like I'm on a Telegram with him, and it's pretty interesting to see how accessible he is and what he does, and he is done quite well for himself. I think the company's about a $20 million company. But when you talk to him, some other $20 million company, the CEO acts like they're like the most amazing person ever. I'm like, dude, some of my clients have $1 billion companies. $10 million is cool, but it's not that amazing. And I think Jason looks at it and goes, I've done something amazing, I've done something good, but I'm still just me. And I like that about himself. And he's
Yeah.
very raw. He's very himself. I was at an event and he knows what I do, and he goes, Mike, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a speaker am I? And just give it to me raw. And so we chatted a little bit about it. I really like that. I'm not going to mention names. There are some other people out there in different spaces. I'm like, this is not my style. One longtime coach that I followed is John Maxwell. The amount of positivity and attitude that person has is absolutely amazing. I met him at an event not too long ago, and we're shaking hands. And I mentioned something. He looks at me with this big, huge smile. He goes something like, "Yeah, that's the way I think that is," or something. It was just so positive, uplifting, upbeat, and I've seen him for years. So one that's on more of the boomer side of things,
Yeah.
and one that's on more of the Gen Z millennial side of
Yeah.
things. And there's a whole bunch of people.
So let me ask you this: when you decided to go into coaching full time, were you completely convinced, hook, line, and sinker, when you started it, that this was your destiny? Yeah.
And I didn't quite know what I was doing. And I think my revenue was on track for that year, including my book sales, which were about $3,000 a month. So I think my total revenue that year was going to be something like $60,000. Now, maybe some people listening go, hey, that's fantastic. That's great. I was in corporate sales for a Fortune 500 company. So my base was a lot higher than that.
Yeah.
And it was a scary moment to step away from. I think I ended that first year in coaching revenue at $72,000. And that included maybe one speaking engagement where I made like $500. And then it included my book sales and it included my coaching. So it was a huge moment where it was more me leaning into my wife's dream than me starting out a coaching company. The only way for us to move near her family was for me to create something that I could do virtual. And so it was a lot more along those lines. My wife went back to work to make this possible for us. And it was her desire, her passion to move. So she got a job there and I started it. And I got a client early on and I was like, okay, this could work because I got a client that was like a 2,500 retainer to work with him in his company. And then they let me go, or they let a whole bunch of people go during November or December. So I was like, oh my gosh, I just started this. And then I just lost like the one thing that I thought was stable. So it was nerve wracking, and it was one of those big step out there. I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's go.
So living in Mexico, did you learn Spanish? Did you get fluent?
Hablo español.
Okay.
Bilingüe. Yep.
So understanding a different language, did that enhance your appreciation for the communication process? Did it make you to kind of see like erode borders between people and did it help you? Did it aid you to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my best friend growing up was is a Mexican, and he now lives in the UK. I'm speaking at an event in Budapest, and then we're going to travel through London on the way back just to say hi to him and such. So absolutely still connected to that community, still on WhatsApp with my high school friends and such. A couple things that did. One was I had to learn how a lot of people feel when they're the odd person out. And there's a lot of people who experience this imposter syndrome. And that sense of everyone else belongs and I don't. And 100%, I was the only white kid in the entire inner city school that I went to at first. Blonde hair, blue eyes, tall, gangly, big, huge buck teeth. It was odd season. I mean, I stood out literally heads and shoulders above people. It was a weird sense. And just nobody wants that when they're in fifth, sixth, seventh grade. And yet there I was. I wanted to fit in and I didn't. And so it really gave me that sense. And then the other part was the power to communicate. If you can't talk the language, if you can't get your point across and you can't communicate, you can't connect. One of the big goals of communication is connection. And if you can't speak, if you can't get it out there, you can't connect. So feeling that. So nowadays, working with clients, one of the reasons why people work with me is that I didn't come out of the womb with a perfect speaking. And I wasn't like this polished, articulate presenter. I had to learn everything. And just like I had to learn everything, I can help someone else learn this and grow in this. And I can understand what it's like. 40% of my clients, English is their second language or third language. And so they're like, hey, I get it. Mike understands where I've been.
So what does the big word retirement mean when it flashes up in your mind? Is that what does that mean to you?
Yeah, that's a scary word. I went to my dad's house a couple years ago, and he lived in a retirement community at the time, and it was a whole bunch of people in their upper 60s to lower 90s who would sit around, watch TV, and drink wine. And I know that's not everybody, but it was like this picture I got to see. Now, my dad doesn't drink wine and was extremely active. In fact, he and his wife are like, he got remarried. He and his wife are like, let's get out of here. This is not us. And they moved into like a younger person community. And so watching my dad in this, I can't imagine sitting down and watching TV for hours. I don't even watch TV.
Yeah.
I can't imagine just sitting. I don't drink wine. I don't drink alcohol. So I can't imagine doing that. So for me, I look at some of these people like a John Maxwell where they don't need the money, but why in the world would I stop doing something that helps people and continues to bring some income, and I can use it for giving, I can use it for whatever. So when I look at it, I look at where, yeah, I'm not working as much, but I'm traveling around. Let's go see the grandkids. Let's go work in different places. Let's go speak at events. Let's continue to add value.
So let's say you have a dream tonight. You walk into a room and your 18-year-old self is in there. And there's a film projector and you click play and there's a 60-second highlight reel of the life you've lived, the choices you made comes up. Is that young version going to believe your life turned out this way?
No, that 18-year-old would not have thought life turned out this way. It would be like, oh, that's not where I thought my life was going. At 18-year-old, I would have figured I would have just been solidly in corporate America, high up the chain.
So would you give any advice to that young version of you?
Don't drink alcohol.
Okay. So on that highlight reel, what's the highlight? What are you the proudest of?
My book is one of them. I mean, the fact that I wrote the book in 27 days, wrote it at 5 o'clock in the morning while working a corporate job on that, and just really steady on it, worked my butt off on it, released it, and that's now sold around 100,000 copies. It's just been absolutely amazing. It's got 1,200 reviews on the first edition, 200 on the second, 400 reviews on Audible. And I mean, literally, people reach out to me from that book again and again and again. And it's been amazing. So that's one of the proudest moments. I think also my wife and I's kids. I mean, we're super proud of our kids on there. I mean, those are the biggest ones. Every night when I put them to sleep, I say, "You are my pride and my joy." And I mean it with all my heart. But in terms of things that I've accomplished, that would by far be one.
So, Mike, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that gets your book, everyone that knows you in different bubbles, but you're the driving force behind what we see. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
That's a great question and very deep. And by the way, in an interview, you're only allowed to say that's a great question one time. A lot of people use it many, many, many times.
Yes.
So, at the core of who I am is someone who does really want to help people realize their potential. It's my mission statement in life. Yes, I need to make an income. Yes, I need to do some of those things. But if all my income was taken care of, I would do a lot of the same type of things that I'm doing, and probably a little bit more. Like we give a percentage of our profit to to buying bikes for kids in India in like inner city areas, and I love that kind of thing, sponsorship. Um, Probably just would do a lot more of without that, just sitting around listening to people too. So all those things, it's all about that, helping people realize their potential, regardless of where it is. Also, if I had unlimited, I know that's not the question. I would sit around and daydream a whole bunch about different possibilities. I love the idea of potentially starting something. I think I've started on paper about 20 different companies, and then in real life, a couple different companies.
So let me ask you this. You watched your parents go through a spiritual quest, a change, a transformation. And, coming from the Midwest, a lot of kids grow up in the church and they're taught the doctrine and they see something that everybody has shown them. But I don't think it really genuinely begins until we feel it ourselves. There's a spiritual moment. There's a connection to however you term God. Have you had a moment like that when you watched your parents go through that? Did you have kind of a spiritual revelatory moment yourself that was aside
Yeah.
from them, it was your own?
Yeah, so absolutely, as a kid, I embraced it, and it wasn't like just my parents. I understood what I was embracing, so fully gave my life over to Jesus. It was this moment I'm all in, chose to be baptized, fully understood what I was doing when I was like 7 years old. Embrace that life. It helped me say no to a lot of negative things in my life growing up, and some of the peer pressure, where I mean, I did not do things that others were shocked that you didn't do that. There's a lot of those moments, and it was because of this. At around 16, 17, I started getting really frustrated and bitter and blamed God for the bad decisions that others were making. And so I distanced myself. But I had this all in moment right around that time, 18. My parents moved back to the United States temporarily, long story, and it caused me to move back to the United States right before my senior year. So I skipped my senior year completely. So now I'm in this spot where I'm away from some of the influences. I'm away from stuff. I'm mad. I'm frustrated. And I really thought through myself, through the idea of where do I want to go? And it was this 1 week. Is this something I really adhere to, the Orthodox Christian faith, or is it something I want to go my own way? And it was a 1 week of really rationally thinking of it and emotionally. And at the end of that week, I went all in towards the faith, which meant that I discarded some things that it was a fork in the road moment where I was trying to live in both lives. And I really pulled back from that right fork and went all the way to the other one.
So you have a very adventurous spirit, and I'm curious if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one event in human history, where do you want to go? What would you love to see unfold before your eyes?
I mean, as a man who embraces Christian faith, I mean, that anything along that line would be absolutely amazing. The inner kid in me would be like, let's go see some dinosaurs and figure this out and do that. And then just the more like interesting part of different things. I love to see the founding of the United States. But I think as you look at all these things, the degree of comfort that even someone who's fairly poor in the United States has over the degree of comfort that even kings and queens of England used to have with their massive castles. I mean, it's crazy how comfortable of a life that we can have with a minimum wage, even versus like. So I might want to see it, but I don't really want to live it.
Yeah,
So
right.
I mean, if I can go be a king of England or something, sure. But even then, the comforts of today are pretty darn amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I hear, there was a time where I listened to Joe Rogan and he would just talk about how amazing this time is between medical advancements. I mean, just technology, the fact that, I mean, I'm a Gen Xer, we're Gen Xers. I mean, we have everything in our pocket in this phone. I mean, there's so many things that we can do. I mean, we're not doing the Jetsons thing where we're flying in cars, which is probably good because we don't need the possibility of raining debris on us. But everything else is like coming to fruition that we
It's
saw as kids.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, what we have is crazy. What's crazy? Yeah, there's definitely moments like I love to see Nebuchadnezzar's hanging gardens. It was supposed to be absolutely beautiful, but at the same time, you go to see some stuff today, you're like, that's probably just as incredible.
Yeah.
That was just more incredible for the time that it was in.
Yeah.
And so some of those ancient wonders are really cool, but realistically, I might want to see it, but
Yeah.
would I have to live there? I would like to
Right.
see when the pyramids are being built, but I have no qualms to think that if I was in Egypt at that point in time, I would have been one of the peasants, and probably not one of the rulers.
Yeah. So you need to come back. You just want to see what's going on and come
Yeah,
on
yeah,
back.
yeah. Can I be an apparition?
That's
Then I'll
it.
see lots of stuff.
Exactly. So uplevelcommunication.com, is that the best place to go to hire you questions, any of the good business?
Yeah, uplevelcommunication.com. That's my coaching program. That's my coaching business. There's a couple of us that do that. I have an actor that works with me to coach people, and I coach people. MikeAcker.com for corporate training. I do a lot of corporate training. I'll be at General Electric next week as of this interview right here. It was just in Dallas 2 days ago. So do a lot of that. Amazon or Barnes& and Noble for Mike Acker's books. Speak with No Fear, Speak with Confidence. Those are the two main big ones. And they've shown up on many top 10 books.
Wonderful. I will put all these links in the show notes. Mike, thank you, sir. Have a wonderful trip to Europe. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And I